Charlotte Mayor Jennifer Roberts acknowledging today that it is still early in the information gathering stage, but here is what we do know about the officer-involved shooting Tuesday in the parking lot of an apartment complex in the University City neighborhood. Family members at the scene Tuesday told media that the victim was not carrying a weapon, that he was carrying a book. We know after a press conference this morning here at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center that a book was not seized by police. That's according to the police chief, Kerr Putney. He said the victim, identified as Keith Lamont Scott, exited his vehicle with a handgun before he was shot by an officer, and that officer has been placed on paid administrative leave. What began as a peaceful protest following that shooting last night turned violent with at least a dozen CMPD officers sustaining injuries. Chief Putney says none of those injuries are life-threatening. He also mentioned some damage to police vehicles, as well as protesters lighting a tractor trailer's contents on fire. The chief confirming here today that the officer who shot the victim was wearing plain clothes. He did not have a body camera on. He was, however, wearing tactical gear that signified he was a police officer. And according to the chief, the other officers who were present, they were in uniform, they were wearing body cameras. The chief told media that he reviewed some of that footage and that you cannot see the situation in its entirety. Mayor Jennifer Roberts told the media that she has been in touch with the White House, Governor Pat McCrory, as well as the NAACP and others. She said, we all see this as a tragedy. We know we have work to do. She called on local leaders to get out the message that the city of Charlotte wants to resolve this peacefully. Going forward, the chief of police said the city and the police department, they're hoping for the best, but they're preparing for the worst. From the Government Center, I'm Gina DePietro for the Gov Channel. At a press conference this morning, Charlotte Mayor Jennifer Roberts is calling for a full, transparent investigation into that deadly officer-involved shooting on Tuesday. Police Chief Kerr Putney addressed the media, giving them a recap of what happened overnight, saying that reports of damaged property began to filter in around 8 p.m., saying that that was centered in the uptown area of Charlotte in the epicenter. Around 30 minutes later, the chief says that his officers responded to an assault with a deadly weapon call on East Trade Street, where they found one person suffering from a gunshot wound, and that person is said to be in critical condition. Police are still reviewing footage to figure out who is responsible for that. Because the protesters continued to damage property in the area, a state of emergency was issued around 12:30 a.m. that allows the State Highway Patrol and the National Guard to assist in efforts going forward and to protect both the property and the people here in the city of Charlotte. Now, the chief told media that 4 officers in total were injured, 2 sustaining eye injuries. He said at least 9 civilians were injured and that 44 arrests were made. Mayor Jennifer Roberts is again asking for calm, peaceful protests, reminding that that is also what the Scott family has been asking for. She said at this time there is no citywide curfew in place for tonight, but if that need arises, one could be put in place. She said the events of last night do not represent the city of Charlotte, and she hopes that the safety of law enforcement and the community is the utmost importance going forward. From the Government Center, I'm Gina DePietro for the Gov Channel. An update now on Tuesday's officer-involved shooting from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, where Governor Pat McCrory just commended what he describes as incredible work by CMPD over the last few days. He asked both the state and the community here to support their effort in this difficult job. He also recognized the outstanding job by the Charlotte Fire Department, who was also present Wednesday night. I'll also tell you he referenced a conversation with President Obama from this afternoon, and he thanked the president for his support and assistance. Governor McCrory says they have coordinated additional resources in an effort to bring peace to this city. I'm told the National Guard has been mobilized. McCrory says the process to coordinate those individuals began around 6 o'clock Wednesday, just in case they were to be called in. He says they have been arriving from all over the state, and some are still on their way. Now, their responsibility in particular, we were told, is to help protect the buildings and other structures, and additionally, they can also help support bridges and highways if needed. The governor says they've also allocated an extensive amount of state troopers. They will help with traffic control and supplement the work already being done by CMPD. They can also assist with property and highways as needed. We also learned here that the State Bureau of Investigation is conducting an independent investigation of Tuesday's incident as well. And as these additional resources come in, Mayor Jennifer Roberts, who is also here, publicly welcomed their support She did acknowledge that Police Chief Kara Putney remains in charge of security efforts here in Charlotte, and she thanked a number of groups, including CMPD, for what she calls their professionalism over the last few days. From Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, I'm Gina DePietro for the GovChannel.